I wanted to say that, simply put, Barbara DeFina is one of the penultimate producers in the world. She's been a long-time collaborator with Martin Scorsese on the films that we just spoke about, but she's also produced other wonderful, well-known and respected films such as The Grifters, The High-Low Country, and You Can Count on Me, for which she's won the Independent Spirit Award. She's just returned from the Toronto Film Festival, where her film Limelight premiered, and she is in pre-production for An Entire Body, directed by Brian Wiseman, and Announced Silence, directed by Martin Scorsese. So please give a warm New York Film Academy welcome to Barbara DeFina. Barbara, I just want to start by talking about the trajectory of your career. I think that makes the most sense. Where did you start?
Where did I start? Everyone asked me that, and it was such a long time ago. I started, it was by accident, and a lot of people, certainly of my generation, the sort of phrase that you sort of fell into it. I mean, I wanted to work in the theater, and I was always interested in theater, and I was interested actually in more of the creative side, with costumes and set decoration and stuff like that. And I just happened to get a job at a company that made television commercials. And I just happened to be there when the person who worked in the studio quit. And so they sent me over to the studio, and I walked on the set, and I just sort of fell in love and met a lot of people that were in the New York unions who introduced me to some other people, and I actually wound up, the first movie I ever worked on was the Sidney Lumet movie. I was a production, at that time they called them assistant production secretaries, they don't call them that anymore. Now they're production coordinators. And it was Sidney Lumet and Robert Hooks and Lynn Redgrave, actors that probably you don't even know because you're so much younger. But it was great. It was a wonderful experience, and I always tell people it's like, running away and joining the circus. I just never looked back. I just loved it and just kept working. Became an assistant director, a production manager, a line producer, and finally a producer.
And you grew up in New Jersey, right?
I grew up in New Jersey, not far from the city. I could see the city from where I grew up. So it was always sort of that magical place in the distance. Yeah.
Did you have a dream to be in the business? Or, what was your life like in New Jersey? Did it prepare you at all for the business?
No, I didn't have a burning desire to work in movies. I wanted to work in theater. And remember, because where I lived was so close, we would come to the city to go to the movies, but actually more so to go to theater. And especially when I was in high school, we would go to see musicals, of course, And I just, it just somehow, I connected and it spoke to me, and that was my dream, and my dream changed. I sort of went a different way, totally by accident, but just fell in love. And so it really came to me later, the sort of love of movies. And then I learned about movies and studied movies and learned about excuse me, European movies. And but when I was at college, we did go to the Thalia, which I guess is long gone. So many of the art houses are gone. And we would watch Milos Forman's movies and other movies with subtitles, which just, it was a great experience. But again, after that, I still had this desire to be in the theater. But I'm so happy now that things don't happen by accident. You were just saying, and I think I was there at the right time in the right place.
And then, how long until you met Martin Scorsese?
I had worked for quite a few years, probably at least 10 years or so in the different, I was working, I left Alan King's company. I was working as a unit manager and a production manager, and he was trying desperately to finish King of Comedy, which was, I think, is probably the longest and most painful post-production. And he had to do some additional shooting. It wasn't reshooting, it was additional shooting. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie, but it was the ending where Jerry is sort of tied up and he's escaped, and he's running down the street, and he sees all of the different TV monitors. So I was hired. My friend actually was called to do it, and he couldn't do it. And I was just getting back from Florida. Actually, I was had been working on a low budget movie, And he said, could you go cover this job for me? And I said, sure. And you know, had just gotten back. I had nothing to do, so I went, and that's how I met Marty. And we did the shoot, and then I was invited to sort of stay on by the producers. My job was to get him to deliver the movie, because every time he would finish it and sort of screen it, before they could actually get it from him, he would take it apart again. And you know, the minute in the old days, the minute you cut a frame out, nothing, it was weeks to put it back together again, because you had to do all of that stuff by hand. And so the sound wouldn't match the picture, and the mix would have to be redone. So it was a much more tedious process. So that was my job, to get him to deliver the movie. I finally did.
And the producers were happy.
Yes, they were happy. I don't know if they were happy, but they got their movie.
And then did you work with him right after that? I think you went away a while.
I went away and I did a movie. Gosh, I'm thinking movies now. I'd forgotten I even did. I went to Nashville to do a TV movie with Lauren Hutton. And then I worked with him after I came back from Nashville.
And then what were you working with him on when you got back here after the Nashville?
I think the first movie we did together was The Color of Money. Mm-hmm. And I think that was the first movie he did after King of Comedy. And he had to do it on schedule and on budget, because he had to prove he could still do that. And he did, to the surprise and delight of Disney.
Did he have that reputation early in his career that he had difficulty staying within budget and schedule?
Yeah, he did. Yeah. He, I think part of it is that he likes to give the actors some room, and he likes to let them, sort of
improvise.
Yeah, improvise. And so, he would always tell them, I don't mind if you improvise and you can do whatever you want, but don't improvise yourself out of the set. Don't improvise yourself to that, like we have to build another set to finish the movie. But they wouldn't always do that, so it was a problem. So he did, yeah, and he spends a lot of time in post-production. He has a certain process, and even with all the new technology, it still takes a long time. He has a process that's different from everyone else's process. He doesn't like to start cutting until the movie's finished. Mm. So, he has an editor he's worked with forever and he trusts and loves, but and she'll assemble and things, but he really doesn't get into the cutting until after the shooting. So, which means he's like 3 or 4 months behind where he should be.
And then he stays in the edit room, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. Watching television at the same time, though. It's like, tell me when to look. It's that kind of, or you watch, tapes of movies or something.
What does he watch on television?
Oh, anything, or videos, or, DVDs, anything. But, I think sometimes it's just a happy distraction. Sometimes it's part of your process. So.